If you're retired, approaching retirement, or sitting on a large 401k or traditional IRA, there is a Medicare rule you absolutely need to understand. Because one financial decision you make today could affect how much you pay for Medicare years, or more precisely, 2 years from now. And the surprising part is this: you don't necessarily have to be a millionaire for this to happen. You could simply take a large withdrawal from your 401k. You could make a large Roth conversion. You could sell an investment with a big capital gain. Or you could have another unusually high income year. And then, much later, you could receive a Medicare premium that is significantly higher than what you expected. This is connected to something called IRMAA. That's the income-related monthly adjustment amount. And if you have Medicare, this is something you need to understand before making a large retirement account withdrawal. So in today's video, we're going to explain exactly how this works, why the 2-year look-back matters, what the 2026 numbers tell us, and what retirees can do to avoid an unpleasant Medicare surprise. Let's start with the most important fact. IRMAA is not a separate Medicare plan. It is an income-related surcharge that can increase what you pay for Medicare Part B and Part D if your income is above certain levels. For 2026, the standard Medicare Part B premium is $202.90 per month. But if your income is high enough, your Part B premium can be substantially higher. According to Medicare's official 2026 figures, the first income-related tier raises the Part B monthly premium to $284.10. And at the highest income levels, the monthly Part B premium can reach $689.90. That's a massive difference from the standard premium. And remember, that's just Part B. There can also be an income-related adjustment for Medicare Part D, so we're not talking about a tiny fee. For some retirees, IRMAA can add thousands of dollars to their annual Medicare costs. And this is why your retirement income strategy matters. Now here's where the story gets really interesting. Medicare generally doesn't look at your income from this year to determine your Medicare premium for this year. Instead, it generally uses tax return information from 2 years earlier. For example, 2026 Medicare premiums are generally based on income reported for 2024. That means a financial decision you made in 2024 can affect what you pay for Medicare in 2026. And the same basic principle continues into future years. So if you have a large taxable withdrawal in 2026, that income can potentially affect your Medicare premiums in 2028. Think about what that means. You could take money out of your retirement account today. You could use that money to renovate your house, buy a car, help a family member, pay for a major expense, or simply move money around. And 2 years later, Medicare could look at the income that appeared on your tax return and determine that you owe a higher premium. You may have completely forgotten about the withdrawal by then, but Medicare hasn't. That's the 2-year look back. And it is one of the biggest retirement planning traps that people don't discover until the bill arrives. Let's use a simple example. Imagine you're retired and you normally have a relatively modest taxable income. Your Social Security is coming in, maybe you have a pension, and you take a small amount from your retirement accounts each year. Everything looks fine. Then one year, you decide to take a large $50,000 withdrawal from your traditional 401k. Maybe you need a new roof. Maybe you're buying a vehicle. Maybe you want to help your children. Or maybe you simply want to take advantage of a good investment opportunity. The withdrawal itself isn't automatically a problem, but traditional 401k and IRA withdrawals are generally taxable income. So that $50,000 can push your income higher. And if your total modified adjusted gross income crosses an IRMAA threshold, your future Medicare premiums can be affected. The important lesson is not, never take money out of your 401k. That's not the lesson. The lesson is, know what the withdrawal does to your taxable income before you make it. That is a completely different approach. Now let's look at the 2026 thresholds. For 2026, Medicare's first IRMAA threshold begins above $109,000 for individuals and above $218,000 for married couples filing jointly. At or below those levels, the standard Part B premium applies. Above the threshold, the income-related adjustment can begin, and there are multiple brackets above that. So if you're close to one of these thresholds, you need to pay attention, because you don't want to discover after the fact that a large withdrawal pushed you into a higher Medicare bracket. And here's another important point. Your Medicare calculation isn't based simply on the amount you withdrew. It's based on the relevant income measure. So your Social Security, wages, pensions, investment income, capital gains, and taxable retirement account distributions can all be part of the bigger income picture. This means you can't look at one transaction in isolation. You need to look at your total income. Let's say you're married. You and your spouse have Social Security. You have some pension income. You have dividends and interest. And then you decide to withdraw $100,000 from a traditional retirement account. You might think, I have enough money. I can afford the withdrawal. Financially, maybe you can. But the tax consequences and Medicare consequences should also be considered. That $100,000 could push your household income into a higher range. And because Medicare uses a 2-year look-back, the consequences may not show up immediately. This is why retirement planning isn't just about how much money you have. It's also about how and when you take that money. Now let's talk about Roth conversions. This is another area where retirees need to be careful. A Roth conversion can be a powerful retirement planning strategy. You move money from a traditional IRA into a Roth IRA. You generally pay income tax on the taxable amount converted, and then the money can potentially grow in the Roth without future qualified withdrawals being subject to federal income tax. Sounds great, right? It can be, but there's a catch. A large Roth conversion can increase your income for the year, and that higher income can potentially affect future Medicare premiums through IRMAA. So a Roth conversion can be financially smart and still create a Medicare cost. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It means you should model the entire transaction. Taxes, Medicare, future required minimum distributions, your expected retirement income, and your long-term goals. Don't look at the tax rate alone. Look at the total cost. Now here's something else retirees should understand. Required minimum distributions, or RMDs, can create a similar problem. As traditional retirement accounts grow, required withdrawals later in retirement can become significant, and those withdrawals can add to taxable income. For someone with a large retirement balance, the combination of Social Security, pension income, investment income, and RMDs can potentially push income into higher Medicare brackets. That's why retirement planning should begin before RMDs become a major issue. If you're 60, 61, 62, or 63, don't wait until you're forced to take large distributions before you start thinking about the tax impact. This is one reason the years before retirement and before large RMDs can be so important. You may have more flexibility during those years. Now, I want to make something very clear. There is no magic trick that guarantees you can avoid IRMAA. And you shouldn't make a financial decision simply because you're afraid of a Medicare surcharge. For example, you shouldn't avoid taking money you genuinely need just to stay under an income threshold. You also shouldn't make an expensive investment decision simply to save a few dollars on Medicare. The goal is not to pay the lowest possible Medicare premium at any cost. The goal is to optimize your overall retirement finances. That's a much smarter way to think about it. Now let's talk about a situation that happens more often than people realize. A retiree sells a house. Maybe the house has appreciated substantially. They sell it and realize a large capital gain. Their ordinary income might be relatively low, but that capital gain can increase the income used in Medicare's calculation. Or imagine someone sells a large stock position. They may have owned the investment for decades. The investment has grown significantly. They sell it to fund retirement. Again, the transaction can create a 1-year spike in income, and 2 years later they could see a higher Medicare premium. The lesson is simple. Before making a major financial transaction in retirement, ask, could this increase my Medicare premium 2 years from now? That one question could save you from a very unpleasant surprise. Now let's talk about what you can do. Strategy number 1, know your current income. Don't guess. Look at your most recent tax return. Look at your Social Security income. Look at pensions. Look at interest. Look at dividends. Look at capital gains. Look at retirement account distributions. Then estimate what your income could be this year. If you're close to an IRMAA threshold, that information becomes especially important. Strategy number 2. Before taking a large 401k or IRA withdrawal, run the numbers. If you need $60,000, don't automatically assume that taking the entire amount at once is the only option. Depending on your situation, spreading withdrawals across different tax years could produce a different income result. But again, this depends on your tax situation and financial needs. Strategy number 3. Be careful with large Roth conversions. Roth conversions can be valuable, but don't look only at the immediate tax bill. Ask how the conversion could affect Medicare premiums in the future. A conversion that looks attractive from a tax perspective may have a different result after you include IRMAA. Strategy number 4. Watch your capital gains. If you're selling investments in retirement, know whether you're creating a large taxable gain. This is particularly important if you are already close to an IRMAA threshold. Strategy number 5. If you experience a qualifying life-changing event, know that there may be a way to ask Social Security to reconsider your IRMAA determination. The Social Security Administration has a process for requesting a reduction when certain life-changing events occur. Examples can include things such as marriage, divorce, death of a spouse, work stoppage or reduction, loss of income-producing property, and certain other circumstances. The key point is that you don't necessarily have to accept an IRMAA determination forever if your financial circumstances have changed in a qualifying way. But you need to understand the rules and provide the appropriate documentation. Now let's go back to the biggest misconception. Some people hear about IRMAA and think, if I make $1 over the limit, Medicare takes all my money. That's not how it works. You don't lose your Social Security. You don't lose Medicare. You're not being fined for earning money. Instead, an income-related adjustment is added to certain Medicare premiums when your income falls into the applicable higher income brackets. That's why the best response isn't fear, it's planning. And planning becomes especially important for people with significant traditional retirement accounts. If you've accumulated several $100,000 or more in traditional 401ks and IRAs, your future income could look very different once required distributions begin. Your retirement account may feel like an asset, and it absolutely is, but it's also potentially future taxable income. That's an important distinction. A $1 million traditional IRA is not the same as a $1 million Roth IRA. The tax treatment is different, and the timing of withdrawals matters. This is why retirement planning isn't just about the size of your nest egg. It's about the structure of your nest egg. Now let's talk about married couples. This is another area where planning can become complicated. When both spouses are receiving Social Security and Medicare, income thresholds are based on the tax filing status that applies to them. For married couples filing jointly, the 2026 first IRMAA threshold is $218,000, so couples should plan together. One spouse's large IRA withdrawal doesn't exist in a vacuum. It can affect the household's income picture. And there's another issue people sometimes overlook. If one spouse dies, the surviving spouse's tax situation can change dramatically. A married couple may have been comfortably below certain thresholds while filing jointly. After the first spouse dies, the survivor may eventually file as single. That can create a very different tax and Medicare situation. This is one reason retirement planning should include not just your current income, but also the possibility of becoming a single filer. Now, let's bring this back to the headline. One 401k withdrawal could make your Medicare cost more. That headline is attention-grabbing, but the real message is more nuanced. A 401k withdrawal does not automatically increase your Medicare premium. It depends on your total income and whether that income puts you into an IRMAA bracket. So don't panic if you need to withdraw money. Don't panic if you have a large retirement account. And don't avoid necessary spending because you're afraid of IRMAA. Instead, plan before you withdraw. That's the difference. The people who get into trouble are often not the people with the most money. They're the people who make a major financial decision without looking at the second-order effects. They look at the first number. They don't look at the second number. They see, I need $80,000. They don't ask, what happens to my taxes? What happens to my Medicare premiums? What happens to my future RMDs? What happens to my Social Security taxation? What happens to my retirement income next year? Those questions matter. Now here's the action plan I want you to remember. Before making a large retirement account withdrawal, check 5 things. Number 1, your estimated taxable income. Number 2, your Medicare IRMAA threshold. Number 3, your potential tax bracket. Number 4, whether the withdrawal could create a large capital gain or other income. And number 5, whether spreading the transaction across tax years could produce a better overall result. You don't need to become a tax expert. You just need to stop treating retirement withdrawals as if they're completely separate from the rest of your financial life. They're connected. Your retirement account affects taxes. Taxes can affect Medicare. Medicare affects your retirement budget. And your retirement budget affects how much money you actually need to withdraw. Everything is connected. So if you're watching this in 2026 and you're approaching Medicare age, this is a particularly important time to start planning. If you're already on Medicare, review your income before making large transactions. And if you're still working, don't assume that retirement planning starts the day you stop working. Some of the most important decisions may happen several years before retirement, especially if you have a large traditional 401k or IRA, because once you understand the 2-year lookback, the entire picture starts to make more sense. The money you earn today may affect Medicare tomorrow. The withdrawal you make today may affect Medicare 2 years from now, and a tax decision that looks smart on paper may have a different outcome once Medicare is included. That's the real lesson. Don't plan your retirement one account at a time. Plan the entire system. Social Security, Medicare, 401k, IRA, Roth IRA, taxes, investments, and your spending needs. When those pieces work together, you have a much better chance of avoiding expensive surprises. And remember, the 2026 Medicare numbers are current figures, while future thresholds and premiums can change. So always check the latest official information before making a major financial decision. If this video helped you understand the Medicare 2-year lookback, share it with someone who is approaching retirement or already taking money from a 401k or IRA, because this is one of those rules that can be easy to ignore until the Medicare bill arrives. And by then, the financial decision that caused the problem may have happened 2 years earlier. So don't wait for the surprise. Plan before the withdrawal, watch your income, understand your Medicare thresholds, and make your retirement money work with your Medicare strategy, not against it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.